What do you do when you face a life-altering event at such a young age? My name is Dr. Rowe. Welcome to LifeJack, the Resilience Podcast, where we explore the incredible stories of individuals who have faced adversity and emerged stronger. On this episode, we have the privilege of speaking with McKemey, a remarkable man whose journey is a testament to the power of resilience. At just 13 years old, Connor faced unimaginable challenges when a devastating outdoor fire explosion left him with burns over 90% of his body and a less than 1% chance of survival. Defying all odds, he not only fought through his recovery, but also went on to excel in Division I college lacrosse, achieving significant milestones as both a player and a coach. Today, Connor travels the country, sharing his powerful message of positivity and perseverance. Join us as we dive into his inspiring story and uncover the keys to building resilience in our own lives.
Sometimes life gives us lemons. Sometimes it gives us lemonade. Other times it gives us something entirely out of left field that makes us say, WTF. But no matter what obstacles come, there is most often a way out on the other side, and we are once again victorious. My name is Dr. Rowe, and you are listening to my podcast about resilience. Every guest shares a tragedy to triumph story to give listeners like you the inspiration to push through every single day. Listen now as my next guest shares how they were life-jacked.
Hi, Connor. Welcome. Thank you so much for being a guest on my show. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I appreciate you having me.
Oh, most definitely. Now, could you share with the listeners a little about yourself before the accident? I mean, I know you were 13, but just a little bit about you, where you're from, all of that.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town just south of Charlotte in South Carolina. I have an older brother and a younger brother, and we're all pretty close in age, and just grew up playing sports and, living a pretty typical life, right? I would go to practice, I'd play in the driveway or on the park or at the park with my brothers and my friends, and I think my life just revolved around going from one activity to the next, and I couldn't really think of any complaints I would have had other than, I was just a kid kind of finding my own way.
Understand, hey, just as any other preteen would, right? Just doing what you do. Now, as I said before, you suffered through a life-altering event, and you were just 13. Like, wow. Could you share what happened to you for as much as you can remember about that day?
Yeah, so outside of playing sports, I was, at that point in my life where I was interested in this girl, and we had been, trying to see where things were going. And as a kid who obviously you can't drive anywhere, you can't really do anything, too romantic, I thought, all right, well, we have a little fire pit outside. I can roast some marshmallows, play some music, and have a nice little scene to try to just, get to know her a little bit better, spend that time with her. And while I was rushing to make the fire, before she got there, there was an explosion. And before I know it, I'm just basically knocked back and can tell that head to toe I'm completely covered in flames. The explosion was loud enough that my mom heard it and was able to jump through the door window and pat me out. And the next door neighbors came over with towels to kind of, dampen the flames. And for me, I get to see, when I open my eyes, just this black charcoal skin, and my shirt was completely gone. Most of my clothes burned off, and you don't know how bad it is at that moment. But you can tell from the look of everyone around you that, you're not in a good spot.
So do you know exactly what caused the explosion? Was there some type of flammable substance that you were using while trying to get the fire going?
There was a gas canister nearby, and I think in the haste of trying to get this fire lit, it got knocked into the flame, and that's what caused that kind of fireball to shoot back out and hit me. And again, I mean, it was a matter of flipping over logs to just a loud bang, and before I know it, you know, everything has changed.
So I have to ask you, because, you know, when we're kids, they always have the fire safety talk, right? And they say, if you're ever in a fire, stop, drop, and roll. In that moment, does that even come to your mind?
I think for me in that moment, it was just take off and run towards the house. It was the only thing I knew. I mean, my eyes were shut. There was the glow around me, and whatever my instincts were was to just run towards, you know, safety, which is home. And, you know, again, I couldn't tell you how long I was in that ball of flame. It could have been seconds. It could have been, you know, a minute plus, who knows? But before I know it, I'm getting knocked to the ground and towels wrapped around me and patted out. So I did not think to stop, drop, and roll, but I did think to take off and try to get to safety.
Yeah, I always wonder about that when they say that to people, because I'm thinking, I don't think that that's something that comes to our mind. You just wanted, whatever is happening, you just needed to stop. And like you said, you're going to run to safety, which is home. Your mom is there. So I understand that. Now, of course, you had to go through a recovery process. And at that time, you were a kid, right? So what do you think was the most challenging part of your recovery process?
I think for me, one of the most difficult challenges was trying to understand that I couldn't do things the way I used to do things, right? Like I was in this completely new body. I had lost, you know, part of my fingers on my left hand. I had scarring from head to toe, and you like know how to tie your shoes, you know how to get dressed, you know how to walk, you know how to run, you know how to do all these things, but your body isn't matching that. And it was a humbling experience, like trying to start over, right? I don't think any of us have memories of walking and running, you know, because we start doing that at such a young age. But you know how to do it. And I was trying to get my body to respond in ways that, like, I thought it should, but it wasn't. And to try to retool the way I went about performing simple tasks like just writing and typing and again, like tying your shoes, getting dressed, like the simplest things that we all knew how to do, I had to relearn. And I think for me, it was taking pride in making the progress when I started getting back to doing those things, then getting upset and you know, being hard on myself because I couldn't do them the way that I used to, you know. And I think when I started changing the perspective of how I looked at, you know, how am I go about walking, how am I going to go about running, how am I going to go about, you know, going through these day-to-day tasks, and take pride in the little things, that's when I started to see the biggest progression, you know, in my recovery process.
And did you have anything specifically that helped you to stay motivated?
I think I definitely benefited from being, you know, a kid, in the fact that, like, you are already kind of ambitious and rebellious. And, you know, when you have all these people tell you you can't do X, Y, and Z thing, it's like, well, I'm going to try to prove you wrong until I can prove to myself that I can't do them. And I think, you know, early on it was difficult to hear, like, hey, you're probably not going to walk again. You're probably never going to play sports again. You know, and I think being a teenager, your natural instinct is to be like, well, why not? Like, watch me. I'm going to try. And I didn't know how hard it would be, or the challenges that would lie ahead. But, like, I wanted to get back so bad to doing the things that I love that, like, I don't think I was going to let some pain or discomfort stop me from getting there.
Well, you mentioned relearning basic life skills, like you said, learning to walk again, learning to have to run again, all those things. And I love it. You were just being a rebellious teenager, which is awesome. It's like, you tell me that I can't do that. Yes, I can. That's like a teenager. I love it. So do you think it had any impact or influence on your outlook of life?
I mean, 100%. I think it changed the way that I appreciated, again, just the things that we take for granted, right? Like, there's so many little things that go on each and every day that we just naturally can do. and it seemed so effortless. And for me, those were some of the hardest tasks, right? Like taking one step, just standing, like trying to tie my shoes, trying to get dressed, trying to, eat. Like the smallest things were victories, and I wanted to take that with me going forward. I might not, be running marathons or climbing Mount Everest, but like there's still tasks that like I get to see and what my body's made of and what it's capable of. And I think it gave me an appreciation for our human body as well, as just how it's able to heal and recover and overcome so much. And so I think the change of how I looked at myself, both mentally and physically, is a direct result because of what happened to me. And I think, the biggest gain I got from it was, again, just having that little bit of appreciation for, look, whether I'm, 40 pounds heavier or 40 pounds lighter, I got to see my body go from, 6 foot, like 120 pounds to, a Division I athlete in a couple of years. So it's just a testament of what our bodies are capable of doing when, you're willing to put in the time and push yourself and again, show some love towards it as well, because it's not always going to respond in the best way. But when you, again, try to approach it with a positive perspective, it can be all the difference.
I couldn't agree with you more. Now, did you have a support system that perhaps played a role in your healing process?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, between my parents, my brothers, the community around me, like I try to share that message anywhere I go, that like I wouldn't have been able to go through what I went through if I felt like I was going through it alone. And there wasn't a moment when I was in the hospital to when I got out and got back to school and everything else that I didn't have people with me or around me. And I think that is so important. Because there are going to be days that were way harder than others, and there was days where I wasn't meeting, the goals or ambitions that I had, but I needed those people when I had setbacks, when I had those down moments, to give me that strength and that energy to keep going. And if I didn't feel like I had that support system, I know 100% I wouldn't have been able to do what I ended up doing. And it's a huge testament to just the power of people, community, and just the collective strength when we come together for something much bigger than ourselves.
Now, you've spoken about the importance of perspective. So how, and I'm sure maybe it's because you had a great support system behind you, or you, like I said, you were this rebellious kid, like nobody can tell me what I can't do, which, like I said, that spirit I love. But how did you shift yours, meaning your perspective, from being a victim of your circumstances to someone who thrives despite them? I mean, you have to talk about your story every time you go out, right? You have to relive that moment. So, like, how did you shift your perspective to not be a victim?
I think part of it was giving myself some time. I think early on, your natural reaction is to think, what would have happened if X, Y, and Z didn't, if I could go back and maybe change this instance, where would the path be? But as I gave myself time, I understood the power of what I went through and the tools that it gave me going forward. I think the beauty in what I've been able to go through is, like, now it's something that gets to get passed down to others and passed on to others, right? The story is much bigger than just myself. Because we're using it as a tool to help inspire and bring positivity to others. And I think, that's such a unique thing that, again, it was big part to my parents who helped guide me down that path and showed me that, like, look, this is a unique case for sure, but there's so many battles that so many people face. And if I have the ability to stand up there and make a change in a positive and productive way, then, like, to me, that's the coolest thing in the world. And I know if things went a different way, I would have never had that opportunity. And so, I'm living on a lot of bonus time. I think a lot of people could say that. And with that time, like, I want to hopefully, make an impact that is again, as positive as it can be.
Now, I know you mentioned that giving yourself time is one of the ways that helped you kind of, feel great about your circumstance and not be a victim, do you have any other strategies that you had to use or you still implement now to keep your mindset on the positive side and be a victor?
I think for me, it's embracing who I am. In my case, it's embracing, my scars and what I see, right? I'm in a unique position where I can go anywhere and people can see what I've been through. And, because of that, I feel this sense of need to, smile and walk with my shoulders back and show people that I'm happy, because there's so many people out there that are dealing with things that none of us can see, but have to put on a brave face. And so for me, knowing that I'm going to have eyes on me, I want to remind people that we're all capable and all a lot stronger, than the scars that you may or may not see. And I think, to me, that's like my armor that I get to wear. And again, I feel very lucky and fortunate to be able to do that.
In your opinion, what are the key components of resilience? Like, how can someone start to build resilience in their own life?
I would say it all starts with, our approach and our reaction, right? Like, there's so many things in our lives that we can't control. But I think where we start to find resilience is when we focus on the things that we can control, right? And for me, that was the key to the start of my journey. It was like, I have to put this in the past. I'm, no longer going to let this, fire define who I am. I'm going to take ownership of the things that I can control, which is trying to get better both physically and mentally, trying to share love with the ones around me, trying to find that positivity when things are grim, like that stuff that you can control. And I think that's where you start to find the resilience, when we start accepting, what has come and what is to be, and start focusing on, all right, look, these are the things that I can do each and every day to start to get the ball rolling, to start to try to build some momentum so I can get down and get towards that path that I want to go.
So although you went through this life-altering event, right, and now you had burns all over your body, but you made the courageous decision to still play sport, to play lacrosse, as a matter of fact. And so you played Division I lacrosse in college, and then you went on to coach lacrosse. So awesome. So what lessons from your recovery did you carry into your athletic career?
I mean, first and foremost, like the one of the biggest things that I used in the hospital with my recovery process that I've taken with me, with all aspects of life, was just a little, like, it ended up being a phrase at High Point where I went to school. That was part of the team motto way before I got there, but it was just get better every day, right? And all I wanted to do when I was, focusing on my recovery, and when we talk about taking ownership of the things you can control, is it was like I just wanted to take one more step than I did the day before, right? I wasn't worried about where I was going or the end goal. It was like, let's just focus on trying to get a little bit better each and every day. And when that came to, going back to sports, it was the same, mantra. It was the same mindset. It was like, let's just try to get a little bit better each and every day. Because if I keep doing that, then I know I will get to where I want to go to. And, my journey from, just getting back to playing high school lacrosse to getting back to, eventually going on and playing college, like, there were still setbacks. I had, times in and out of the hospital for different surgeries. I remember before my junior year of college, like, tearing my shoulder and thinking, like, my career's done. Like, it's my dominant shooting shoulder. And I remember feeling so sorry for myself, and I needed a wake-up call from the people around me that were like, dude, you've been through way worse. Like, you got this. And it was the same process when I built myself back up there. It was like, once I got back to rehabbing and recovering, it was like, let's just try to get a little bit better. If we do that, eventually, again, I'll get the strength back. I'll get to where I want to go. And I think, those are the things that I've been able to take from my experience, with my injury. And again, just being able to see what our bodies are able to do. It's like you always know you got a little bit more in the tank when you've seen yourself push to the ultimate limit, and again, from building up from scratch, I'm like, yeah, I can do this. There's a lot harder things that I've been through. So, this extra run session or this extra weight session, is the least of my worries. It might be tiring. It might be sore. I might not want to do it, but I know I can do it. And that's something, again, that I can control.
So you, of course, in your company and your website is called the MAC mentality. So what exactly is MAC mentality?
The MAC mentality is kind of the pillars for what I relied on when I was going through my recovery and what I still try to use in my day-to-day. I talked about taking ownership of what we can control, and I thought these three pillars were all things that I could control and that I used to get better. And so it's M for motivation, it's A for attitude, and it's C for courage. And I thought, between those three things, they're all very common words. They're all things that most people know. But more importantly, they're all things that we can control, right? We can control our motivation, we can control our attitude, and we can control, how our courage, or how to, being courageous. And again, I thought those three things together helped kind of push me down the path that I wanted to go. And it's that mindset that I felt like was my best weapon when dealing with any adversity. And when I have setbacks, when I have fallbacks, it's going back to those things. It's like the motivation, which is, what I can do to get a little bit better each day. It's the attitude, which is the way that I look and approach that problem or that feeling. And courage, again, to me is the most important, because there's so many unknowns out there. It's just having that belief in ourselves, in our work and what we do, to keep going, even though we don't know where the answers are or the finish line. It's just like having that, taking that leap of faith. And for me, those three things together, it's like a perfect package. And so I named, the company after it, and that's all the stuff that we promote. So we do a lot of mental health work. We do a lot of work with speaking to the youth, and just trying to paint a picture of, hey, like, if you want to be resilient, if you want to be able to handle life's challenges, like it's a matter of mentality. It's a matter of mindset. And to me, this was a mindset that I know worked, and I know is able to, again, achieve some success.
Sometimes, people pass judgment, right? They stare, especially when someone looks different, right? I'm pretty sure that, especially immediately after your accident, you may have looked a little different, possibly disfigured. So as a kid even, and even to this day, when people stare or, people look at you, or I think they want to ask, of course, questions, but they're scared to. But how have you dealt with it and not internalize it, right? Like, because it's something that's natural, right? Like, oh, they're looking at me, and then you start feeling self-conscious, and then when it's like, it's not even something that you can do anything about at this point right now. So if there's anybody out there that may be dealing with this same, type of thing, thinking that they're being scrutinized or judged, or, people are having opinions. So how do you deal with that?
It definitely took time. And I think early on it was very difficult. I remember the first year plus, maybe 18 months, from the day the accident happened till on, like, I struggled brushing my teeth in front of the mirror, getting ready in front of the mirror. I hated seeing my reflection. But that was somebody that was healing. And both physically and mentally, more importantly. And I think what I've learned over time is, when you allow yourself that opportunity to heal, and you start judging yourself on the best versions of yourself instead of the worst versions of yourself, you'll start giving yourself a lot more slack and a lot more credit, right? I was so difficult and so hard on somebody that had just gone through something so traumatic that I needed to allow that person to heal. And yeah, I was young, and you're growing up, and you're already super self-conscious about the way that you look anyway. So I wasn't in that much of a different boat than anyone else. But what I've come to learn over the last 15 plus years since then is the people that truly loved me, the people that truly cared about me, never changed, how they were around me. And I've gone on to life and met more and more people that I just know the Connor that's been burned and love him for who he is, and never knew who I was before then. And it just showed, in so many ways that, like, people really do see you for who you are and not, again, the way that you appear. It might stand out or be different at first, but the ones that really do care about you, the ones that really do love you, see what's inside more than what's on the outside. And I know it's a cliche thing to see, but I've seen it in my life more than enough occasions to know that it's not just a truth, but it's definitely my truth. And it's something that, again, like, I just have such an appreciation for the ones that are around me, the ones that accept me, because it's not like I don't see people or see things that stand out to me. I don't walk around thinking that I look that much different, and I just think that I'm me. And the people, again, that care about me or see me for that, are the ones that I spend my time, listening to and caring about their opinions rather than, some complete stranger or somebody that doesn't know you.
I love that. I love the confidence that you embody. I love that message you carry. I mean, it's just, even though we're not talking in person, like, I can feel it through the phone. Like, he's like, look, this is who I am. This is me. Despite my circumstance, it is what it is. Take it or leave it. I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. So now you have decided to take your message on the road, and you're traveling around the country and sharing your message of positivity and perseverance, which I know is absolutely authentically you, because, like I said, it's radiating through this interview right now of exactly who you are, and you truly embody this. So what made you decide to share your story to thousands of people?
I think for me, it took taking a step back from where I was as a coach, and at that point in my life, like, it was really, I had always dreamed of. But it was like understanding that there's, I think, just so much more to this story than just, again, me having my own happiness. And in a lot of ways, I think I felt selfish because I knew that there's somebody out there that probably needed to hear this, or there's somebody out there that could benefit from, this conversation or even listening to this podcast. And, like, that ended up changing something inside me that was like, look, that's the goal. Like, we lose way too many people each year, to mental health and suicide and all these other things that, like, again, if I could save one life, if I could, change one path, then, like, that's what I felt called to do. And I had a lot of people that supported that and believed in that as well. And like anything else, it was like, let's just, I attacked it full force and head on. And, it's been unbelievable to just see, people smiling and having a little bit of more hope in their eyes, because, like, nobody is shy to know that, like, the last 4 years, really since, COVID, things aren't always the happiest or greatest, but I think we've seen more often than not that people are incredibly resilient and powerful of amazing and capable of amazing things. And, I think that lit something inside me that was like, I want to be able to contribute to that and, again, provide a positive and productive message to those that need it. And again, I've been incredibly fortunate to have, opportunities to do that. And I love it. I really, really do.
When someone hears your message, what exactly are you hoping that, you said a little bit, just a moment ago, but truly when they hear your message of inspiration, what do you hope that the key takeaway is after hearing you?
More than anything, I just want them to have hope and belief that, things can get better. No matter how difficult or dark the situation is, like, just having that little bit of light inside could be the difference. And I try to share other experiences and stories when I speak, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to paint a picture of like, look, when things hit rock bottom, like this is what we can do. And when we rely on other people, when we use the strength of each other and the strength that we all have inside, we're capable of great things, and we're capable of overcoming, pretty much any obstacle in our path. And again, for me, it's like, can we provide that belief? Can we provide that hope? And again, that spark that maybe can ignite something in somebody else, so that they can go ahead and make the changes that they need to get out from whatever place that they're in. And again, like, my goal when I go and speak, as much as I'd love to touch 1,000 lives in each room, it's like, look, hopefully there's a handful of people in there, and if we get to them, then we're doing what we're supposed to do, because we know it's a domino effect. I know if I help out 1 or 2 lives in this circle, like, they'll continue to pass that on, because that's just how positivity works. It's kind of contagious in that way.
Well, absolutely wonderful. A contagion of positivity, perseverance. So looking ahead, as you continue spreading your message of resilience and positivity, what are your goals for the future?
I mean, for me, it's to hopefully continue to keep doing it. I think I've had a great few years, and being able to go to a bunch of schools and universities and be a voice for the youth. I think that's something that is incredibly important to me. It's like trying to be the person that you'd want to be for, like, middle school, high school me, right? That, like, when I was going through what I went through, I didn't have an example, and if I can provide that for somebody else, like, that's the goal. I love doing it. I love seeing, again, somebody that was battling, come up to me after a speech and tell me that, hey, that made a difference, or that meant something. Again, it's like the greatest feeling in the world. And I hope, it's something I get to continue to do until, my final days. And I don't see why I couldn't, or what's stopping me. And I think, again, the mindset isn't, millions and millions of lives. It's like, we're just going, like, I try to get one step better each day. It's like one person each day, and add from there.
Well, listeners, thank you for joining me on LifeJack, the Resilience Podcast. A heartfelt thank you to Connor McKemey for sharing his extraordinary journey with us. His story is a powerful reminder of the human spirit's ability to overcome even the most daunting challenges. Connor's insights into resilience, the importance of a strong support system, and the transformative power of perspective are invaluable lessons we can all take to heart. Whether you're facing your own struggles or supporting someone else through theirs, remember that resilience is built one step at a time. Now, Connor, can you do me a favor? Can you please share how anyone can book you to speak so that they can hear your resilience story firsthand?
Yeah, I think the easiest way, or the best way, to contact me and my team is to head to our website, macmentality.com, M-A-C mentality.com, where we have links to speeches. I try to keep it up to date with any podcasts or any other things that I'm doing, but it has a direct link to book us there, and that would be easily the best place to get in contact with me.
Any last words of encouragement for the listeners?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the best last words, it's the way I kind of sign everything. It's just a little phrase that I use where I kind of lean into the, burn stuff, which is stay lit. And it's just a reminder to just keep that little flame inside of us that we all have going, right? And as long as we have that little fire burning inside of us, as long as we stay lit, we have an opportunity to get to the other side. We have an opportunity to overcome. And so, I say it to a lot of people, it gets a little smile, a little smirk, but it's a simple reminder to just keep going. So stay lit.
I love it. Just stay lit. Well, yes, Connor, we will stay lit. Thank you so much for being a guest. I wish you and your family nothing but blessings and abundance. Please take care.
Thank you.
As we wrap up, let's carry forward the message of hope and determination that Connor embodies. If you found inspiration in today's conversation, we encourage you to share this episode with others who may benefit from hearing Connor's story. Be sure to join me next time for more uplifting stories and insights on resilience. Until then, keep pushing forward, embrace the journey, and remember that every setback can lead to a greater comeback. Dr. Rowe, signing off.
You've reached the end of another episode of Life Jacked, the Resilience Podcast. Connect with me at www.lifejackedpodcast.com. Don't forget to sign up to the blog so you won't miss any events or episodes. And every now and then, I'll give away free materials from my guests or from me. Remember to live, laugh, love, learn, and then repeat. See you in the next episode.